I'm Jessica.
I'm Tori.
And we are Grace and Hustle. So today we're dropping our first video for our blog, Grace and Hustle. So we're going to be talking about spiritual growth and what spiritual growth means to us individually. If you've been following along with our blog, then you know that we have been talking about self-love. And so the perfect way to end our series is to get on here and just kind of talk amongst each other about the different challenges that we've experienced through our spiritual journeys and our overall experience and what we may have learned and things of that nature. So we hope that you guys enjoy this video. Feel free to comment. Even, if you want to provide your own experience, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. So thanks for joining. Our first question today is going to be, what has your spiritual journey been like so far? And we're going to start that off with Jess.
My spiritual journey so far has definitely been a learning experience. I would say over the past year or so, I've had some highs and some lows. In my low points, I was able to really just take the time and to reflect and to think and to really realize and remember who I can turn to, and that was God. And also during that time of reflection, I was able to just start my journey on developing a more personal relationship with Him, and that included, like reading my Bible more, praying more, and just being more in tune with Him and who He is. So it's definitely been a journey, but it has been a learning experience, and I have learned a lot on the way.
Yep. And then we'll go to Tori.
Well, I think we can all relate to that. I feel like we've all had experiences like that, especially being young. We all go through lots of ups and downs. And I would say, like, my spiritual journey has been up and down. Mm-hmm. I would say I grew up in the church. I was always in church up until I went to college. And, of course, I had times where I didn't go to church. It was just, like, a little bit off and on. But, of course, I still, kept all of my values. I was still leaning on the Lord, praying and all that, but I would say I wasn't really close to Him during those times, during those college years. But afterwards, of course, like going through different things, struggles, ups and downs, career-wise and everything else, like I really had to turn to Him. And also, I would say it depends on who you surround yourself with, too. Because one of my best friends, once she really, really got into church and, started to, lean on the Lord for herself, it's different, just going to church with your parents. But when you, know the Lord for yourself, it's a lot different. And just having somebody to talk to, she will always, now she sends me different sermons, almost every day. And then just being able to talk to people about church and your journey, it helps you. So I would say where I am now is a lot different from where I was a few years ago, and becoming closer to God and things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that was good. My experience has been similar to kind of Tori's. Growing up, I was always in church. Every Sunday, every Wednesday night, I was there. Even going into college, I made it a point, even if me and my girlfriends went out, we were going to church the next day. So I was always in church. When I got out of college, things changed a little bit. I went back home, I was going to my parents' church, and I loved the church, but I didn't feel like I really had that one-on-one connection with God, per se. It was kind of like I got into this thing where I'm just getting up to go to church, just because I'm going to feel bad if I don't go. So some life transitions happened, and it got to the point where I was out of church. I wasn't really going to church like that. I really wasn't praying, and I really got to a point where I was like, you know what? God, how are you going to let this happen to me? How are you going to let this happen, this, and the third? So I really stopped going to church, and I was just at an all-time low. And, one thing about God I can say is that I'm thankful for His grace and His love, because I felt like the prodigal son, kind of, so to speak. Because I was I knew I needed to get back to church. I knew I needed to get back to this point, but it was well, hold on, God. Let me just finish doing what I'm going to do first, and then I'm going to come home. So for me, things changed at the end of last year. It was just okay, you know what? I can't do this on my own anymore. I know what I need to do. So at the beginning of this year, I got back into church, and I was, doing my devotions regularly. I had a journal for my devotions. I was praying. And so it's definitely been a roller coaster for me, but I really am just grateful that I surround myself around people that, we all have our different struggles, but ultimately we believe in the same God, and we can encourage each other. And I mean, that helps to get me through. And, I'm just appreciative for what I did have to experience. So now I think I'm in a way better place as far as my spiritual journey is concerned.
And I think that that's the blessing of going through those times. That's when you really get to know Him.
Yes, you do.
Because when you're doing well, when you are, high, it's like, yeah, everything's fine. You do your praying, but it's just because that's what you were taught to do. But I feel like when you go through those trials and those tests, that's when you really, find out who He is. What His having His grace and mercy really means. So that's definitely the blessing of going through those different things.
You appreciate it a whole lot more.
And it's one thing, like somebody had told me one time, it's like, or I've heard it at church or something, that God will get you to your lowest point, just so that you realize that you need Him. And I think that's very true. And I think that all three of us, and other people that we know too, have kind of been in that predicament. So I definitely agree with y'all on that. Our next question for today is going to be the challenges, not even a question, but discussion, will be the challenges that we have experienced along our spiritual journeys.
The challenge for me that I think at times set me back along my journey is definitely comparison. Looking on social media and just seeing in general, what people my age were doing, and saying, oh, they're doing this, they're buying their first house, they're having their first child, they're getting married, and they are far along in their career. So then I feel like, well, that's where I'm supposed to be too, and kind of just it discouraged me when I would see that. So just learning to trust in God's timing. And and just knowing that whatever purpose God has for you is for you. So just really getting better at that, and not allowing myself to compare my journey with anyone else's, and just being able to embrace the fact that my journey is unique and it's different from everybody else's. And I feel like God's timing is definitely best. And even now, with going through my struggles and my trials and everything, and just knowing that God is gonna bless me, and He's going to show me my purpose on His own time and the time that's best for me. So
that's good. It is. I would say a challenge for me is balancing. I don't know if that's the right word, but just trying to balance my spiritual growth, my spiritual journey with just life and things that happen and things that we deal with on a regular basis, and just not forgetting that you have someone that you can lean on, somebody that you can pray to, and you don't have to go through everything alone, and you don't have to be influenced by other people or the world. And it's just keeping in mind that God is there for you and He got you. So I guess it was just going through that journey, I think it's a transition, as you get older, it just becomes I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, all I really need to do is, do what's important, and that's make sure that I'm, close to God. And it's really just having that balance, from spirituality and things like that, and dealing with the world. That's what I would say.
I think for me, one thing was realizing that I was worthy enough, I think. And I think that ties on to the whole self-love thing, because I feel like when you are at a low point and you don't feel like you love yourself or you don't have any self-love or anything like that, then you don't think you're worthy for anybody. And I think that's something that I struggled with, and I think that's one reason why I was kind of in and out here and there, because I didn't think that I was worthy enough for his love. So, I mean, definitely this year, just getting back into his word and just reading scripture that's like, you know what, no, I'm beautiful in his sight, and he loves me no matter what my faults are. Things of that definitely helps to boost me up, and kind of help me realize that no matter what I've done, you know, I'm still worthy enough, I'm still his child, he still loves me. But it also kind of helps me to be like, you know, to try to be more consistent in my actions. I want to be, you know, as Christ-like as I can. Yeah, we all have our struggles that we deal with. And I'll never forget when I was living in Fayetteville, there was a pastor that said, you know, kind of consider Christ as like you're representing his brand every day. Like if you're going out in the street, you want to make sure you're representing Christ.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like that's one thing I struggle with too, is kind of that consistency. Like when I walk out of the house, I need to make sure the things that come out of my mouth, things that I say, how I act, how I carry myself, is representing Christ in the best way.
Yeah.
And I know that's a struggle for me because, you know, sometimes, shoot, I'm going to pop off at the mouth sometimes, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, okay, wait a second, let me be that shining light.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's something I'm struggling with and something I'm working towards, because I do want to make sure that my actions are amounting up to what I say.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm. And it's
like,
hard.
Yeah, having that balance. Even though I feel like, I mean, I don't be popping off at the mouth at people.
Yeah.
But I still, like, you want to be conscious of certain things that you're saying. Like you're trying to follow Christ, so.
And because, like, you never know who you're going to run into, and you never know somebody from your church would be like, oh, well, did you know? And it was like, okay, well, I don't want to get myself in that situation. So, but I think all of these challenges that we deal with, you know, I think it definitely helps us to better ourselves and also to better our relationship with Christ. And the fact that we're aware of it, we know the things that we need to work on to make sure that we are, you know, our relationship with Christ is better. So our next question is going to be, how have we grown spiritually over the last year?
I have grown spiritually, or the way that I've grown spiritually is I've gained a lot of patience.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like a lot of times we want to be in control of everything. We want everything to go our way. Lord knows I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I have definitely learned to, you know, just be still, sit down, listen, and, you know, think, okay, what is God trying to tell me right now? And, you know, just growing patient. And something that I've seen, like, really frequently on, like, social media and stuff is this quote that says, you don't eat the fruit the same day as you plant it. So, you know, and that kind of hits home for me, and I think I've really grown in that way. It's just, you know, having patience and trusting God's timing, and knowing that, you know, sometimes His blessings do take time to come into fruition. So, just learning to, you know, just have patience, be still, and just, you know, let God do what He does. So.
For me, I've been trying to be more consistent in my journey. So, like, even if I miss church, I make sure, you know, that I listen to the sermon online throughout the week. I've been doing my devotions every day, just making sure I get some type of word in, like, consistently, not just on Sunday, but throughout the week, so that, you know, I know that I'm strengthening myself, you know, I'm having that, you know, quiet time with the Lord, and just making sure that I keep in mind, like, who got me, like, every day. Just being consistent. I think that really has made a difference.
Consistency is key. I just want to piggyback a little bit off of what Jess was saying about patience. I think sometimes we think that God is like a genie. I don't know if anybody's ever, like, thought of that. It's like, oh, well, you know, God, I really want this. God, I really want that. And it's like, tomorrow, okay, God, where is it at? And then when it's not there, it's like, okay, so what can I do to get that?
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, that's been an area as well that I've had to grow in, is because, you know, sometimes there's things that happen in my life that I look back and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? God has said, because you didn't want to be patient, this is what happens, and this is the consequences, which is perfectly fine, because I think that's how you grow. But one thing I've definitely learned this year is just be patient and just let God do what he needs to do. And I need to learn what he's trying to teach me in that season too. So that's definitely been an area of growth, because I've been still this year. I've been just still, let things flow, and not just like, okay, God, when is this coming? You know, just be still and let it work. And another way that I've grown is also being consistent, going to church regularly, volunteering at church, and that keeps me grounded, that keeps me accountable, because I know, hey, I have to go volunteer, but then also those Sundays I'm not volunteering, I need to be going to get my word as well. And then, you know, just with the devotions and things of that nature, just, you know, helping to keep me grounded. So,
to piggyback off of what both of you all said about being patient, I was actually thinking about that, like, this week, like, going through that whole thing and that struggle of, like, okay, so you asked God for something and you went through a season of struggle, and then you get it, but then you're expecting something else, so you're moving on to the next thing that you're asking God for, and it's just like, it's really teaching me patience. Like, I have to be grateful for what I asked him for before, even though I want the next thing. And so now I'm in a season where I'm being patient again, and just trying to let things work on his timing and not mine. And, you know, also, like you were saying earlier about comparison, I think, like, social media has us, like, comparing our journey to other people's journey, and it's just like, well, I want this other person has that, why can't I get this now? And yeah, I've been, you know, going through that whole struggle of learning patience. So yeah.
And, you know, I feel like sometimes it's good to look at God as a parent. Because, and you know, like you said, a lot of times we're like, well, God, I want this, I want that, and, you know, a lot of times God is saying, you think you want that, but I got something that's even better for you. It's just like, hold on for a little while. You know, like, just think of maybe like a parent during the holidays. You know, like, you go into a store and maybe your child is like, you know, I want this toy, mommy, I want this toy, daddy. Like, I really want this, but I want you to get this for me. And then you're like, well, I had something better for you for Christmas, but, you know, if you want that, you can go ahead and get it, but that's not what I have for you. So, you know, I think that's a good way to imagine him or look at him, you know, in that way, and how he sees us, you know. So just being patient and, you know, realizing that God knows what's best, and he knows what he wants us to have, so just, you know, wait and see what he has in store.
I find comfort in basically what you guys were saying too. I find comfort in the fact of knowing that God is walking beside me. There was this devotion that I had read one time. It was like earlier this year, and it stuck with me all year. And it's kind of like God is walking hand in hand with us. And he's like, look, if you just stay with me, I got you. Everything's going to be okay. I'm not going to promise it's going to be easy all the time, but I'm with you. So if you stay on this path. If you venture off, I can't promise that I'm gonna be able to take you where I want, because you're on your own thing. So it's kind of like, you know, even when things don't seem like it's going how we want them to go, it's like now I'm able to find comfort in, like, okay, if it didn't go there, all right, that's fine. There's something better out there. So that's kind of encouraging to me, and something that I definitely try to think of when I get discouraged of when things aren't going my way. You've made it this far, so our final question for this series is going to be, where do you see yourself spiritually in the future?
Where do I see myself spiritually in the future? I definitely see myself more disciplined. You know, like a lot of times I plan on waking up in the morning, saying my prayer, you know, taking time during the day, praying before I go to sleep at night. But, you know, I feel like a lot of people can relate that sometimes, you know, life and everyday things can kind of get in the way, and then you forget. But I want to get to the point where I have, set time and everything where, like I take out time for God and I don't forget. Um, and I just also see myself more grounded and with a much more personal relationship with God. Um, I mean, I put Him first now, but I always long to be closer, and I think I will always long to be closer. So yeah, just to be closer to Him. That's my goal.
That's great.
I would say definitely more discipline. And I really want to have like that quiet time with God where I'm just like, it's just me by myself with no distractions and just, praying and having that time where I'm, getting closer to Him and just pouring out everything. I would like to do that more definitely. And just like praying more and like, of course, I pray like on my way to work or at night, but I really want to have like that like quiet time where it's just I feel like it's just Him and I'm just letting everything out. And of course, I just want to keep growing spiritually, just strengthening my faith in Him, and just becoming closer and just more strength.
Me too. I want to be able to have a closer relationship with God. Definitely increase my faith. I think it's easy for us to say sometimes, "Oh yeah, God got it, no problem." But it's like deep down inside, do I really believe that, or I'm like shivering, like, "Oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen next." So just being able to take my faith to the next level for sure. And another thing is my prayer life. My prayer life could definitely use a boost. Sometimes it's really weird. Sometimes I get, like when I'm praying, I'm just like, it has to be this perfect prayer.
Yeah.
Like, okay, God, well, let me think what words to say, because I hear all these preachers, they have these fancy words. I'm like, well, I don't pray like that. And so just getting to that level where I'm like, you know what, just like in any relationship, let me just be able to talk with God openly, not worrying about what words coming next, but just be able to really pour out my heart to Him and express desires and things of that nature. And then also too, I just want my actions to align with the relationship that I have with Christ. I want people to look at me and be like, you know what, she got God in her, like, you know what I'm saying? And so just to make sure that my things that I say, the things that I do, how I carry myself ultimately leads back to Christ, because, I mean, that's how people get saved. And I don't want to be that person that they're like, oh, well, she was doing this on Saturday and then she was in church. I don't want to do that. So just being able to get closer to God, enhance our relationship, because I think through that I'm going to be a better person. I'm already a better person than I was earlier this year, and being able to do all of that is going to help me to be able to live out the purpose that He has for my life. So to wrap things up, we are going to kind of just go through what we've gained individually from this self-love series that we've done. We kind of just want to give you guys our perspective on what we've gained from it. So, Jess, if you'll start us off.
Writing has always been an outlet for me. So having this blog in general has really, really helped. And a lot of times when I'm writing, I feel like I'm ministering to myself, and like I'm talking to myself, because a lot of times, like after I would, write my blog and then go back and read it, I'm like, okay, Jessica,
like, girl,
like what came over you when you were writing this? So it's definitely really helped, and I think it has helped me grow in every way. And just being around you guys and having your support, and it's helped strengthen me, and it's helped keep me grounded, and it's also kept me accountable for my growth. So.
That's good.
Yeah. I would say like having the opportunity to really write about all of these topics dealing with self-love, it just made me reflect on like where I've been and like where I am now, and just be grateful for the growth, and also accountability too. Just making sure that, you know, I'm making sure that I'm taking care of me, and I'm like putting me first, and how I feel, how I am mentally, spiritually, and everything else. And then it also made me kind of think about how I, you know, talk to people, or how I encourage other people, just because, you know, we all go through struggles, we all go through things, and just seeing how, like, each of us talk about all of these different topics, it just made me, like, realize, you know, we all go through stuff, and it's just important that we support each other and encourage other people, so.
Yeah, that's good. So, this blog has kind of, for me, it's kind of been like a healing place, kind of, because when you're writing and when you're looking at other people write, you're like, wow, that kind of hurt. Or like when you're going back through things, you're like, dang, that hurt.
Like you're reliving it.
Yeah, but it's like, you know what? Thank God that I'm not there anymore. Yeah. And then it makes you really appreciate who you are, because you're like, you know what? I went through that, but look where I am now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And honestly and truly, I'm not, the fact that I'm even on this camera, it's like, oh God, because a year ago you would not find me on the camera. So it's kind of like the fact that I've got these two beautiful women here, we've got this blog together, that's just helped me just to continue to grow as a person, period. And then the fact that we're able to encourage other people that are going through things that maybe we've experienced, that helps to minister and encourage me too, because it's like, even when we put posts out, I'm not just talking to the people that are reading, I'm talking to myself too. So it's like, I'm putting something out, but I'm also gaining as well. And I think that's been such a big thing, because I know, you know, at the beginning of the year, one thing I prayed for was some concrete, good, supportive, encouraging friends. Because nowadays, you don't find that. No. So the fact that, you know, I found you guys, and then we've got this blog and stuff, it's really been great, and I'm definitely appreciative for it, for sure.
So does anybody else, like, do they look back and say, wow, like, I'm a completely different person I was even like 5-6 months ago, or is it just me?
Yes, no, it's not just you. It is like, it's amazing.
Like a growth spurt overnight.
But it's like people, I think it's a good thing when you get around people that require you to level up, because you can't be around, like, the people that you're going to be around, they're going to only tolerate certain things, you know what I'm saying? And then they're going to encourage you to become better, and that's the kind of people that you want to hang around anyway, is people that are going to require, okay, so girl, pick up your stuff and let's go to the next level. And I mean, that's kind of what you need, I think.
So we thank all of you for tuning in, and we hope that those who watch were able to take away something from this, and that you were encouraged by this discussion.
Leave a comment, let us know how your spiritual journey has been. Like, subscribe, share with your friends and family, and stay tuned for more.
Toodaloo.